That means that you need to hustle when it comes to school. You need to make sure you're taking the most challenging classes you can within your ability. Obviously, you don't want to be failing anything. You make sure that you are starting to think about what your transcript says about you. What class choices have you made, and how do they contribute to the person that you are trying to show yourself to be? And that you are making sure those teachers really like you. A lot of people ask me when the best time to start is. And a lot of other people come in and say, oh my God, I think I'm running behind. I'm late. I have so much to do. Help me, help me, help me. And this is part of the job because people decide that they want to study abroad at different times. And their perception of how much time it takes to get things done can vary. But let's talk a little bit about the timing. I would say if you're a rising 12th grader in the US system or in the IB, or you're about to start year 13 for the UK, you're late. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of exams. There's a lot of paperwork. There's things to prepare that take a fair amount of time, and the essays are not a small part of that. But if you are at some point in an American or an IB year 11, you're fine and you're going to be okay. And honestly, if you're about to start 11th grade, you're at what is my favorite time of the entire thing because, the dog's here. You're at my favorite time because what it means is that you actually have this year to put together the pieces of a strong application, to sort of think about who you are, to reflect on the parts that might take some reflection. You don't have to rush straight through it, which is great. Every year I have students who start in 9th grade or 10th grade because they want more time to work on creative writing, to think about their career options, to get more advice and more sort of conscious, active support for the extracurriculars that you want to build up over the years of high school. But my favorite is to have time to work together for the entirety of 11th grade. Again, with the UK, that is year 12. So let's assume for now that you are not one of the panicked ones who's about to start your final year of school and are now thinking, oh my God, Christina's told me I'm late. What am I going to do? If you're not that person, because we'll save that for a different video. If you're not that person, let's assume that you are starting in year 10, year 11, and you are now wondering, what is it that I have to prioritize? It's a really good question because there's a lot of things to think about. And for me, those things are your academics in school, your SAT score and the prep that you have to do to get a score that you're going to be happy with, and exploration, which we'll talk more about. The most important aspect of an application is going to be your transcript. What classes you take, what choices you make among the classes that are available to you, how well you do in those classes, and your teacher's impression of you, which go into the letters of recommendation. Nothing beats it in importance. It's the thing that everyone wants to see you doing well in because it is the best predictor of how you're going to be as a university student. If you're someone who is struggling to stay afloat in some of your harder classes, they are going to interpret that as someone who is going to have problems doing the exact same thing at the university level. So it is the best predictor of how you will be. That means that you need to hustle when it comes to school. You need to make sure you're taking the most challenging classes you can within your ability. Obviously, you don't want to be failing anything. You make sure that you are starting to think about what your transcript says about you. What class choices have you made, and how do they contribute to the person that you are trying to show yourself to be? And that you are making sure those teachers really like you. Making sure that you're active in class, that you're raising your hand, that you're doing things on time, and that you're taking any opportunity you can to show that you are a reflective, active member of the class. It is not just about your grade. If you sit in the back of the class and have straight A's, but you aren't really contributing, you're going to have a really dry letter of recommendation. And ultimately, most schools want more than just the grades. They want the person, the member of the academic community. When it comes to the SAT, which is the second of my priorities that I like to tell people to start with, I've had some students every year who take it for the first time and get the score that they want, which is a magical thing when it happens. But let's not assume that that's going to happen. And instead, let's assume that you're going to be one of the normal kids, which is that you need anywhere from 4 to 10 months of studying with at least 2, if not 3 tests built into that time to get to the score that you're happy with. That's assuming you're studying every week. I think the sort of standard that counselors talk about now is that for every 100 points you want to add to your score, expect to do 30 to 40 hours of studying. That means you need to build in that time. So if we're thinking about what to prioritize, you've got to get that going. Some people do it in a class where they're taking 4 or 6 hours a week of SAT prep and the homework that comes along with that. Others are self-studying. What matters more is that you're doing it and you're doing it regularly. Little plug for the kind of studying. A 6-hour study session on a Sunday afternoon, 1, is not going to be very productive because you're going to burn out, but 2, is still not as useful as 2 or 3 smaller periods of studying spread out. It helps our brain remember things a lot better. So don't squash it all into one day. Build it into your life. If it were me, I would try, as I think about the schedule for your application cycle, not to have any SATs during your final year of school. Like, try to finish your SAT by June, or at the last minute, August of the summer before you apply, because trying to do applications while also studying for that October SAT it's just a mistake. It's a mistake. Don't do it. It's terrible. Also, you're probably not going to get the score that you want. Okay, and then the third thing is exploring. Exploring is the most, conceptual aspect of what I'm suggesting that you do now. But it's really important. If you know exactly what you want to study, you don't need to explore academically, but you do need to be exploring activities that you care about, clubs you want to get involved in, volunteering, internships, all the things that can be an extracurricular. You don't start those with leadership roles. You start them with normal roles. You start them as just a member of something. But if you're not putting yourself out there, you're not going to figure out what you like. That doesn't just magically become something you know. You know it by trying things. I tried softball one semester. Absolutely hated it. Never played that again. But I was on the snowboarding team, and I do like basketball and soccer. When I was in high school, I tried writing for the student newspaper, and it turned out that I really liked the logistical aspects of a student newspaper, the timelines, the deadlines, the editing, all the things that make it work, more than actually sharing my own opinion at that stage of my life with the people around me. And so I ended up applying for editorial roles because it suited me better. These are the things that you only know by trying. So if you're not exploring early on and you say, oh, I'll deal with extracurriculars later, your common application, the form that we use to apply, is going to end up showing a really boring year 9, year 10, and then like some stuff in year 11 and 12. But that's not going to be the same as the kids who take the first half of their high school years and just like get out into the world and try things. And then the second half is refining that, applying for more serious roles, taking it up a level. That's the best. So if you are going to do anything, you're going to start exploring as soon as possible. Now, people who are applying to competitive schools can get a little bit, obsessive is a tough word, but let's just say intense about their applications. What I think is important for you to put to the side right now, if you're working on building a profile and you have time to work on it, is which individual schools you're going to go to. It doesn't matter. You have to wait until you have your grades from 11th grade. You have to wait until you have your SAT score and where you're going to be. Picking schools right at the beginning is a waste of time because you're probably going to change your mind. More important than that is learning about American or Canadian education, thinking about what kinds of schools are a good match for you, reading the program description so you know what a business program is like at a school like Bucknell and a business program is like at a school like UCLA. They're not the same, right? Big schools and little schools have very different styles, but also 2 different liberal arts colleges might do econ very differently. And if you don't know what those differences are, you're not going to know which one is a good fit for you. And so learning about that system is great. And it's one of those kind of less stressful types of research because the goal is just to learn more about the different options that are there. America has thousands of colleges and universities. And so even if you know that you want to go to school on the East Coast, or even if you know you want to be in the top 100, you still have a lot of learning to do. You got to make sure the school's on track because without a good transcript, you're not going anywhere competitive. You need to have your SAT prep plan. And then you have to start exploring and finding your thing, right? These are the pieces that you got to start with in that first month. Now, if you're someone who hates writing, I would probably also add into that to start doing some reflective journaling. And there's all kinds of great YouTube channels and resources for reflective journaling online, and it will help you get in touch with your priorities and goals and values and feelings. So I love reflective journaling. If you're someone who's really comfortable writing, or you do creative writing in your spare time anyways, then you could probably push off working on the essay for a little while. I guess the most important takeaway for this is that American applications especially, and Canadians to a lesser degree, is a long-term application process, right? You're working on it for not just a couple months, but for probably a couple years. If you are applying to competitive schools, the top ones in Canada, the top ones in the US, you have to be strategic about it, because you need to put together pieces that tell a story of who you are, because we have much more complicated applications than a lot of other countries. That means that what you need is momentum. You need to keep working at something. You need to progress a little bit every month. You need to think about how step A leads to B, leads to C, and you just need to keep working at it. It isn't something that you're going to answer tomorrow. It's not something you're going to figure out in a week. But if you keep making that momentum and having it move forward, you'll get there.